Dr. Rothbard will accept some questions from the floor.
Yeah. Well, I think your approach is a little too monolithic. In other words, the left is not a single entity. I mean, there's organizations to repeal the draft, for example, right? You work with them. You don't work with the bomb people and so on. It's as simple as all that. Yeah.
What do you think about the possibility of the Libertarian Party as an educating and recruiting organ?
I'm an old third party fan. I must admit, I've been in every third party since 1956 or something, and ones that nobody's ever heard of. And I like the idea. I think it's a good idea. And a lot of people in the libertarian movement think it's a terrible sellout because you're dealing with a political system. But I don't see that. If it's there, why not make use of it? And I think it'd be good educational advice. Yeah. Yeah, Morris. Well, I don't really know. I mean, he seems to be very sympathetic to the libertarian position. He seems to understand it fairly well. Outside of that, I don't really know. He's very good. I mean, politically, concretely, he's very good on the Vietnam War and on the draft. He's taken the lead on that. His voting record isn't too great on other, domestic questions, and that's all I can say. You have to make your estimate. Yeah. Right. No, I don't think we have a moral obligation to save them. We have a moral obligation to save ourselves and to promote the cause of liberty. Yeah. Usurping what? Well, it could happen. I don't think there's any panacea against it. But it seems to me, what else can you do? It seems to me we have to be ready for that, anticipate it might happen, and try to work out ways to stop it. For one thing, I mean, a lot of liberals are big civil libertarians. At least they think they are. And so that any kind of repression that might occur against us would immediately draw a lot of liberal support. So it could be kind of difficult to do it. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but I don't see what other alternative there is. I mean, we're here and we're stuck with the system too. Unless you go to an island or a platform. If you want to do that, great. But I'm not going to any platform. Yeah. Yeah, I'm all in favor of. I mean, we haven't been that big that we can expend energies everywhere. But great. I mean, I'm all in favor of international propaganda. Beam the thing, get Radio Free World or something, and yeah. Was. Well, I think I think the same weakening, the softening process as I mentioned with liberals in general has happened also with academics. I mean, for example, when the publicity about me came out, most of the people hadn't heard me from Adam in my school, not in the department, but in the school in general. When publicity came out about libertarianism, etc., I said, gee, libertarianism, right-wing anarchism, gee, that's interesting, that sort of thing. Well, I mean, it's not the sort of, that's not conversion, but it's not a sort of reaction I would have gotten or did get 20 years ago, where they practically lynched. So I think there's a softening up process. I think that the loss of nerve or loss of faith on the part of liberals in their own position has also permeates the academic profession. And but you see, I don't think we have to convert necessarily all the universities first, because historically, brand new ideas have often come not through the universities, but through separate alternative educational institutions apart from the universities, which tend to become entrenched and bureaucratic and so forth. And institutes and academies pop up, which are, in the 18th century, the Enlightenment, for example, the universities that had it, they weren't interested. And so the thing came in through new institutions. It might happen that way too. In other words, we shouldn't rule out the influence of non-academic people in spreading ideas, because the universities tend to lose their credibility, as they say now. Yeah, up there, Jared. Hartford, I think. Yeah. Not only that, but somebody's actually writing a PhD thesis on us. And if somebody's writing a PhD thesis on you, you've had it. You're enshrined. Yeah, wow.
Dr. Rothbard, you told us about priorities, and I'm wondering if in order to help us define our priorities, you can precisely define who the enemy is, who we are working against.
Wow. Yeah, okay. The enemy, of course, all people or institutions which oppose liberty. The major enemy is the state. I think the state has been, as Roy brought out so eloquently yesterday, the state has murdered and slaughtered millions of people through history. It has done it in the past and is still doing it in the present. And I think that's the enemy, in quotes. And there's no question about it. I mean, there are, also the individual mugger is an enemy, but I don't think we need a giant crusade to stop the individual mugger. Yeah. Oh. Right. Yeah, that's a very good point. Well, I think there's a lot of room for things like tax rebellions of one sort or another. In other words, people not paying, refusing to pay, trying to abolish or whatever different forms of taxes. There's no question about that. It's a key element. I mean, the state has basically two forms of finance. One is taxes, and the other is inflating of the money supply. Taxes, I think, is a good possibility for tax revolts. As a matter of fact, even the press talks about, gee, the tax revolts here and there, and they're voting down bond issues and stuff like that. I think there's a tremendous potential for this, and even some leftists are against taxes. So there's hope there. I think there's a lot of hope in a tax rebellion. On inflation, is a little more difficult because it's tough to get. As long as the money supply is totally controlled by the government, it's tough to disregard it. And I think there we should agitate for a return of the gold standard, which is one of my old hobbies, because the gold was seized from us in Fort Knox, 1933. It was there. If we can get it back from the government, then we can start using gold as money and ignore the government's paper, ignore the government's banks. You see, this gives us a foothold to as an alternative institution to use the people's money, and which is gold. And so this, but I would have. Before a couple of weeks ago, I would have also agitated for a mass cashing in of your bank deposits in order to give trouble to the banking system. But then I found out that I was advocating this a couple of weeks ago in some conference. They said that's treason. I said, what do you mean it's treason? Well, it turns out it's illegal and punishable by 20 years imprisonment and death by torture or something like that. To cast doubt upon the soundness of the nation's banking system. How do you like them apples? Yeah. Well, I'm not a great enemy of the mass media myself. I'm not I'm not very fond of it. But on the other hand, I don't see how it can hurt. I mean, it's true that, you know, we might be on a TV circuit for 6 weeks or something, then be dropped for some other, you know, for the dog front or something like that. You know. But yeah, so what? I mean, we still build up a certain. There's still people we reach in the meantime. We still get our ideas beaming forth. The mass media. I don't really see that there's a problem with it. Yeah. Me among libertarians? Well, I can't outline the entire basic philosophy. For one thing, it differs from one individual to the other. I mean, one of the things about individualists is they have different individual philosophies, and you don't have a party line kind of structure. You can refer to some guy and this is it. So I don't think there's no, as far as I know, there's no common general philosophy that all libertarians hold, except libertarian politics. And I suppose it'd be better if they all held the same thing. On the other hand, diversity isn't so bad either. So I don't see this really great problem. Yeah, Danny? Can't hear you. Well, I see again. I'm not calling for, as I answered the question before, I'm not calling for a total alliance of your whole heart and soul with people. What I'm saying is we have specific. We're libertarians, and then we have certain specific objectives, priorities we want to deal with, such as say the draft. Then we try to work on the draft. You know, it doesn't mean you have to abandon yourself to be raped by the left or anything of that sort. I mean, you're working for specific targets. Now, it's true that a lot of people tend to do that. They tend to say if we have allies, that somehow we should embrace them in an unholy embrace and then, you know, lose our soul. I don't see why that has to be that way. Darn it! I don't see why we can't say, okay, as an organization, to repeal the draft, and we work with them without committing yourself to anything else. You know, without committing yourself to economic philosophy or spiritual or anything, or any other even broader problems. Yeah. No, I'm in favor of stating reason. I try to make it clear in the talk that I think we should always push our own line at all times. I mean, be really noisy at all times about our own position. We were against the draft because we were against slavery, period. Not just because we were against a specific war, let's say. And keep pushing that. If somebody says, well, gee, we're against slavery. Why do you call that slavery or something? Then you go on. I mean, I realize there are problems in this sort of thing. There are problems with defection for that reason. I don't see any other way of dealing with the world than trying to march ahead and form your own position, push it, that sort of thing. Yeah. Just in general? I mean, for American history, this, Gabriel Coco's Triumph of Conservatism, for example, which is a fantastic book, which really reconstructs your whole view of the 20th century, not only of the progressive period that he deals with, but the current system too, because it's in paperback. Because the progressive system, all the regulatory commissions and so forth, which came in then, are really the foundation of the current system. The current system is just an expansion. And what he points out, his basic theme is, what he points out is that these progressive and welfare regulations, progressive regulations and regulatory commissions, all these things which we consider, the essence of modern statism, came in not over the dead bodies of big business and put in by left-wing intellectuals, Fabians, and unions, that sort of thing, which is the usual picture. Came in largely because of these big businessmen themselves, to cartelize the system, to change the system from a free competitive one to a monopolistic one, and using these regulatory commissions to impose cartels, higher prices, restricting production, and so forth on the system. Doing this, of course, under the cover of opposing monopoly, since nobody's going to, the American public would not exactly been very happy about the idea of putting in the Interstate Commerce Commission in order to cartelize the railroads and raise prices. So it was put in on the idea of, well, we have to eliminate destructive competition and, and fair price and fair wage and all that sort of stuff. And the Cocoa book is a fantastic book on that, because he goes through every area of the industry and it shows how each of these regulatory commissions came in. KOLKO. And also another thing he points out was that before these commissions and so forth came in, the system was competitive and not monopolistic. Because the usual theory is that laissez-faire brought about monopoly, and then we had to have these commissions to overcome it. And he points out that it was competitive, and that's why the commissions were put in, precisely because the system was not monopolistic. Yeah. No. Yeah, I think you can have I mean, I myself have a philosophic base, but you can arrive at libertarianism from all sorts of angles, from all sorts of bases. There are many premises which can arrive at the same conclusion, and this is what happens in this case. Now, well, I would prefer seeing it on better philosophic grounds than it is now. That's part of the question of internal education, because it's true. If you start with if you arrive at it through shaky philosophical grounds, you can easily get out of it. You can fall out of it in 6 months, which tends to happen. So I'm all in favor of pushing a sound philosophical basis. What's that? What do you mean merely a preference? Why is preference mere? I think it's very important. I think it's a lower priority than abolishing the draft, for example. Right? Yes, I think although I don't think either thing should be abandoned. I don't think either internal education or external action should be abandoned. But I think the concrete examples of slavery that we have, it's more important to abolish them than to worry about the philosophic basis. Although I do that too. Right. Yeah.
I think there's a fallacy involved in your position which can be illustrated by some of the things that are going on now. Just look at the size of the crowds that are turning out for anti-war and anti-draft demonstrations compared to 3 years ago. And it shows when strategy is just placed ahead of education preemptively. I consider myself right now an educationist, but I consider education as part of a two-pronged strategy. You educate first, then you proceed with strategy. And I think the anti-war and the anti-draft movement have lost the zip because, let's face it, give the bastard his credit. When Nixon came in, he made a brilliant political move. The lottery system. He wiped out 2/3 of the opposition to the draft because now we put in a system when the government was holding a Damocles sword of doubt over the heads of every 18 to 25-year-old in the country, there was an enormous protest grounding base there. He just wiped out 2/3 of that protest because they were protesting simply out of self-interest. Am I going to go?
Right.
He wiped that out in a couple of seconds. And I think that shows when you just place an emphasis on strategy without education.
No, I'm not in favor of strategy without education. No, I think it's very important to build the cadre up, which is obviously most of these people had no, we're not grounded in libertarian principles at all. And so what you say is correct, but I'm all in favor of developing libertarian program, movement, philosophy, the whole works. The more, the better. What I was trying to point out was that's not enough. You also have a strategic involvement with other people. And but the two things should go together. I don't see why they can't.
Thank you very much.